So hello again, welcome back. It's my pleasure to facilitate our last panel at this very first Food System Change Congress. And we just joined a very interesting discussion on innovative financing as a very important pillar to achieve change. But throughout the Congress, it was always the topic of knowledge exchange. And it was also a goal of this Congress. And in this last panel, we would like to focus on synergies, networks, and the way forward. And we will be discussing with international researchers, networkers, and political activists. And before we do that, I would like to announce that after our discussion, you will receive more information about our declaration that we were working on collaboratively yesterday, and you will also get to know where to find all the outcomes from this Congress. And first let us jump into our panel. Please feel free, as always, to ask your questions via the Q&A tool, to raise your hand if you would like to interact, and you could speak up to our panelists. And you can also use the chat if you would like to post links or other comments. And now I'm very excited to introduce our speakers of this panel. And I would like to welcome Dr. Fedele Colantuono. He is involved in research activities and management of different projects, mainly related to the agri-food system, so about research and development, rural development, and international cooperation. And actually, currently he's the project manager of SKIN, which stands for Short Supply Chain Knowledge and Innovation Network. And this is an initiative that aims to systemize the existing knowledge, building long-term collaboration, and to promote innovation in the short food supply chain domain all over Europe. I'm also delighted.
Silvana. And good afternoon to everybody.
Nice to have you. I'm also delighted that Marina Guédon from the Forum Synergies is with us today. Forum Synergies is a non-profit association of engaged citizens, organizations, and active practitioners engaged in sustainable and rural development. And they are working for a living countryside. And I'm really excited to learn more about this network. And also, I'm very excited that we have Stanka Becheva. Sorry for, maybe you can correct me later on. She's the campaigner for food, agriculture, and biodiversity at Friends of the Earth Europe, and an active part of the Near-Linear Europe and Central Asia network. And just to give you an idea, Friends of the Earth Europe is the largest grassroots environmental network in Europe, uniting more than 30 national organizations with thousands of local groups, so a very huge impact. And the Near-Linear Europe and Central Asia network brings together farmers, indigenous people, consumers, NGOs, trade unions, and also human rights organizations to enhance existing food sovereignty initiatives. So this was the introduction of our panelists. And now I would like to start with our first question. If you would like to start, Stanka, how would you describe your work, and who are you addressing?
Thanks a lot. Welcome to everyone who is joining this session. You presented already who I'm speaking on behalf of, so I won't say much more about it, just to say that I'll be kind of speaking maybe with my two hats a little bit. explaining or speaking to the experience I have within my own network, Friends of the Earth Europe, and also the experience I did through the Naileni Europe and Central Asia network. So these are two very different things, but I think we can learn a lot, or yeah, I learned at least a lot from working both within my own network and the Naileni network. So I would say, well, Friends of the Earth was presented already. We're a grassroots network. We have several members. Basically, we are representing citizens, and this is our main target audience. So this is the work that we're doing is involving different actions which are targeting citizens. So a lot of the stuff I've been involved in the last 10 years since I've been part of Friends of the Earth Europe has been about informing citizens about different important issues that we find they should know about. So I'm a food and farming campaigner at Friends of the Earth Europe. So anything that has to do with making European food systems more sustainable, it's the things that we've been really informing citizens about. On the other side, so this includes different information campaigns, but it also includes giving citizens opportunities and tools to become active themselves and engage in policy making, to speak to their policymakers and so on. So we've been involved in creating or starting citizens initiatives, information campaigns, exciting actions, going out on the streets and protesting when that was needed. But my network is also involved in concretely creating solutions, and that's probably the most relevant part for those of you who are part of kind of initiatives and innovations that are participating in this forum. So a lot of the work that our network and members are doing on the ground are really about creating alternatives for citizens to access healthy, sustainable food on one side, but also supporting farmers, supporting producers to be able to have their income and also know about sustainable production. So this is, I would say, really the main part of our work. It's very diverse and depends on which level you look at, but it's also very exciting and includes working with a lot of different organizations. And as to the second part of us being part of the Naileni Europe network, the work there has been, at least my own involvement has been really about the European level strategizing and bringing together the different needs, the different analysis and the kind of the political strategies. So I've been involved in organizing 2 Europe-wide network gatherings with more than 500 people in each of them. And this has been really a space similar to this one, I think, where a lot of ideas have been exchanged, a lot of strategies have been born. And I think, I don't know if there are people who are part of the Urgency European community supported agriculture, but they would say that actually their network was born after the first Naileni meeting. So these spaces are really important, and that's kind of part of the work we've been doing throughout the years.
Thank
so
you.
maybe I'll stop here for now.
Thank you. Great. Marina, I would like to know about your work. So yeah, how would you describe what you're doing?
Well, as you mentioned, Forum Synergy is a non-profit association, so we are not a grassroots network as such, but we have not only we have a small group of members, but I would say that our energy relies on our contacts, of all our list of contacts, because our work is based on networking in itself. So in co-building and co-organizing activities together with other organizations. As you mentioned, our focus is not only food, but it's rural areas in general, rural territories and rural communities. So we are addressing not only rural inhabitants, but also natural resource managers, farmers, local groups, village communities, any kind of people who are interested in becoming active in the place they live, or interested in topics related to rural places in general. So we are basically organizing workshops and gatherings. So we are building spaces to exchange, to create dialogue, to also inspire people visiting other concrete experiences from other countries, from other territories, but also dialogue to exchange with other people from different cultural background, different professional background, different needs and interests. So it also creates a kind of common vision and different, it enriches the knowledge. So, I mean, if you visit our website, you will see more or less the kind of gatherings and thematic workshops we have been organizing in the past years. We have organized activities related to food, to sustainable forestry, to health and herbs and health. Even if it's not always the case in all our activities, we're also trying to create a connection between local practitioner needs and visions, and also the decision makers, if it's possible, at least to bring that that message, or to create that dialogue if there are local or regional decision makers. So it's also something we have in mind. And I don't know if I've covered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. As you were attending to some of our sessions, would you say that your work addresses also the initiatives that were presented in this Congress?
Yes, I would say that I've seen a lot of topics that related in a way to what we have been working on directly or indirectly. I mean, agroforestry is something we have been dealing with in all our gatherings, even if we are not working on the food topics. In our field visits or in their experiences, we are exchanging, or participants are exchanging, because we are giving the floor so to participants, and they are just sharing their experiences. So access to land, community supported agriculture, food co-ops are topics that we have been addressing. And specifically on the food topic, last year we have been organizing 2 webinars during COVID times, and after also trying to start thinking about how should regional models should look like. At least we try to bring some experiences that show how you can organize yourself on not only on the community level, but on the more wider level. And some of the experiences you have been presenting in your Congress were presented also in our webinar. So we are complementary in a way. It's nice. It's nice to see that we are sharing the same principles. I was thinking in Clock Jordan farm, for instance, and there are others. So yeah, definitely we are working in some of these initiatives, or trying to promote them. And I have been discovered other ones, which is really interesting. And I hope that it will also give us food for thought to follow working and promoting them.
Thank you. Yeah, we will elaborate that for sure. Now I would like to know about the project Skin. So Fedele, would you like to describe to us what was your aim, or what is your work actually in the project?
Well, my work, I have to say that I represent the academic side, because I work at the University of Foggia in Italy. In particular, we are a team on agricultural economics. So we take into consideration the different aspects of economics and agriculture, rural development, food systems, policy. So we have different branches. In particular, I take care of the project management. We have different projects on different aspects, from regional, national to European level. And Skin represented for us an European project funded by the Horizon 2020 program. Unfortunately, I have to say that the project has been concluded almost 1 year ago, but for us it's really important, the network that we have developed, which is a network dedicated to the short food supply chain, because the idea was to put together all the information, all the different actors that are relevant for the development of short food supply chains around Europe. We started in 2015 to bring some people together and share first ideas. Then we put this proposal to the attention of the European Commission, applying to a call. It was financed, and we started on 2017, end of 2016. We have been managing this project for 3 years, involving 23 partners from different European countries. The project website is still available online, so if somebody has any curiosity or wants to understand more, it is possible to have information, because all the results, all the outputs that we have produced during the project implementation are available online. We started to develop this network, meeting the farmers, because the approach that was used was the bottom-up approach. So this means that we started to discuss, to meet people and make them all together in one room to share needs, ideas, good practices. And then from the academic side, our goal was to bring our solutions to them. So in order to have such a bridge between the academic side and the real working environment with farmers, because the very nice part of my job is to be in touch with the reality. I'm not only doing some research activities, but we also interact with people, because another initiative of the university is to meet the society, to understand the needs from our stakeholders, and working on the rural development. Of course, farmers and small producers are our main stakeholders. Indeed, with the project Skin, we have involved farmers represented by single companies, but also farmers association, in order to enlarge and have a wider audience, and the consumers as well, because if we think about the short food supply chain, the two main elements are producers and consumers. So through the years that we have developed the Skin network, we have also met consumers, dedicating to them some events in order to meet people, to meet consumers association, and see what was going on, put the realities from different countries together, inviting some experts from different countries. We have also collected a large number of good practices that are available on the project website. and represents let's say, the Bible for people who wants to understand more. According to different keywords, they can access the repository and select those good practices that they think useful and can be replicated as well in other environments, because these are some examples of working initiatives, winning initiatives made by some farmers or consumers as well, that can be replicated and taken as reference for further initiatives.
Thank you. Yeah, this sounds interesting. One question arises in my head about the topic of funding, because as I know, it is often happening that projects are funded for a while and they have brilliant outcomes, and probably then 1 year later the web page is not funded anymore and all the outcomes are gone. So what is, maybe I can ask this to all of you, or those who are more in touch with these research projects, what is the recipe against this disappearance of information that came out of funded projects?
Maybe I can start with my experience, since I've managed different projects. So this is really an issue, because we know that after the project ends, maybe for 1 year, 2 years, the websites, project websites or other channels developed during the project are available. So it's important to define during the project, in particular when writing the proposal of the project, to define a plan for keeping alive the project outputs. For example, with the skin project, we proposed after the project end a community of practice. So this was such a dedicated network to all actors of the short food supply chain. And we started to develop a platform, kind of website, in order to include on this website the most relevant information coming from the skin project, and also from new people that were joining the community of practice. Of course, this takes time, money, and it's not always easy. So it's important to find people who wants to support this initiative, or look for new funding. For example, we also applied for new projects in order to continue with the initiative of skin and go further with the skin results, because we invest time and we really trust on the work that we do. So that's why we also feel sad that we can't, because it's not just from our own, especially when we talk about European projects that involve many countries. It's not always easy to manage when there are many parts from many countries. So the ideal thing is to have somebody like an association, for example, talking about farmers. If we have a farmer association that already has some initiative that can be involved in the project, or use the website of the farmer association as a way to keep everybody connected, this could be helpful. Another interesting initiative, since Skin was a thematic network, and there are many other thematic networks developed thanks to the Horizon 2020 program. The European Commission a few years ago launched a call to have a common platform. So there is a new project who is collecting all these outputs from the different thematic networks to have such a Wikipedia of all thematic networks. So this is a new initiative, and this is the Erachnos and the Eureka projects that they are bringing further this initiative.
Thank you. Yeah, this sounds good. Would you like to post the link? I think there was one person asking for skin as a link. And then
I'll write it in the chat.
Thank you very much. Yeah. And Marina, what is your perception of this problem with funding, and how do you cope with it to maintain the knowledge?
Well, we are in a different situation because we have not been funded through European project, but through 2 foundations over the past decade. And it's a very, very specific and lucky situation. I mean, we don't know if it will follow more than a couple of years from now on, but it has ensure that our website, where our resource center is based, is kept alive. And that also we could continue maintaining the activities. But I know that when the funding stops for a project, it's a tricky question to maintain all the information alive. And yes, I agree that with what Fedele said, that you should have at least one organization who can follow carrying all that knowledge and information, so it's not lost. I mean, I've also seen that very interesting projects with interesting website and databases or success stories, which has disappeared a couple of years ago. So it's a pity not to have that information. As regard funding, also, I would say that it's sometimes difficult to find fundings for process-oriented networking. As such, it's a tricky question. So you have to go through that project with a specific result, because it's what's needed and it's what is expected. And sometimes what we only need is just to have skills or resources to network and exchange. And it's maybe something we need in the funding.
Thank you. Stanka, when we look at the network of Nieleni, how actually is the exchange happening between different countries, and how can political demands arise from this exchange? What is your structure?
Well, I can speak again of the experience I have. So I'm involved in the European coordination, right? That's that means that I'm working with other people who are coordinating European networks, like the European Coordination via Campesina, like the Urgency, Community Supported Agriculture Network, like TNI, like FIAN, the European units, and so on. So I think the importance for being able to have the collaboration and to exchange is to have really the resources within the organization to allow this to happen, because as Marina was saying, exchanging and being part of a network, it requires a lot of time and a lot of efforts to first understand each other's needs, each other's demands, then to really, if you want to come to a common denominator and then even have like common actions and so on, it requires a lot of understanding each other, and really creating a whole process with each other. So really having the resources within the different organizations is being key, also within the Nieleni network. So my own organization has also dedicated for the organizations of the 2 forums I mentioned about really enough resources within our Brussels office where I work, but also within the national offices, the time of people to be able to be engaged in that. So really people power and human resources, it's also important, next to the funding that we talked about. And the way how we've been functioning, I mean, my own network, but also most of the other ones involved in it, and also the collaboration in itself. It is a grassroots based organization. So we start with the demands and with the needs of the people on the ground who are engaged in practical solutions, like many of you who are probably following this exchange. So it's important to understand what is the need of the people who are creating this real change on the ground, who are the innovators, who are really making a difference, and creating this change, and then bring that up to the policymakers. That's the work that we're doing. how I imagine it a little bit is like we work within a system that we don't really find a beautiful one, a working one anymore, and we're creating kind of cracks within the system with our beautiful solutions, which are trying to grow out of it and create the alternative. And that's how I imagine a little bit how we work with each other, from the people on the ground who are sending their messages and their needs to us who are working on the Brussels political level. We take the demands and make sure that policymakers are creating the spaces for these beautiful solutions that we want to grow, to be able to, for now, grow in the cracks, and then maybe one day our system will be the dominant one, and we won't be anymore in the cracks, but really kind of blossoming and being able to be not a niche anymore, but what the system is. So a little bit that's how I see a bit our work.
Yeah, thank you. It's a beautiful picture. And yeah, my question would be now, I think it is often the case that there is these niche innovation or the pioneers that start or that maybe even reinvent knowledge that has been there for a long time, but they apply it in their grounds, in their field, and then there comes research and wants to list up all that is happening, and probably very much later the research will write a publication and then say, oh, we have a political demand for this and for that. So how do you perceive this way, this structure? Is it the way it should happen, or is there a better way, or is research really the right link between the practitioners and the peasants and the politics? What is your perception of this?
Was that a question? Maybe I can start and then others can add. At least in the network, in the work that I'm involved in, the innovations, as we said, is not something that is created in a laboratory and then posted in the reality. But we see, as you said, the innovators are those people on the ground who are actually the practitioners. And this is what we're trying to support. And these are also the research institutes that we are working with, who are interested to actually work together with the practitioners on the ground to see what the people on the ground need and support them in this way to move away from the problems they have, and like to really support them in their needs and in their efforts to create a different food system. So in the ideal situation, and also again in the networks we're involved in, research is not something which should be on top of what we are doing, but it should be included and should be kind of accompanying a process of innovation, which is again based on the needs and on the experience of the people on the ground. So I wouldn't say that research should come on top, as it often happens, or even I think what we see very often, we get solutions for problems which are not really creating a kind of a systematic change. If we talk about a lot of precision farming and climate smart agriculture and all these apparently innovative practices, they're just incremental changes within the food system, but not really creating any big and longer lasting changes. So this is not the kind of research and innovations that at least we would like to support.
Maybe just to add a point, I mean, we have not been working in research programs from Synergies, but my experience also here in Valencia is that participatory research, which is really based on the needs of the local people, is maybe the way to ensure that I don't mean all kind of research, but some of them, social research, for instance, are really meeting the needs of the local players.
Thank you. Yeah, Fedele.
I also agree with
Okay.
Stanka and Marina opinions. I represent, as I said, the academic side, so it's true that the role of the researcher is not just to write a paper because he wants to have that on a journal, but we have to transfer what we have found with our research to the real people that need this change, this innovation. And it's also important the role of the policy makers, because sometimes it's not just from our side, but we also need a real change into the regulation system in order to put everything into practice. And from this side, for example, in project consortium, it's important to have some representative from the policy makers, for example, from region side or any other main representative, in order to make our voice louder and reach who can address the right change at the right moment. Also, the European Commission is open to this, because I've got the opportunity to participate to some events of the AP Agri, who generally are organized with multi-level stakeholder participation. So they invite different experts from different fields, and everything can add something and bring something in order to collect needs from the different actors.
Yeah, thank you. That was exactly what I wanted to ask. The EIP, the European Innovation Partnership, is a very broad approach, could be a good approach. They have also set up the AKIS, the Agricultural Knowledge and Innovation System. Would you say these are the appropriate tools to promote agroecology and what we need for food sovereignty? Is this a European tool that we should use, or tool, but network, I would say? What is your perception?
Yeah, it could be a good tool, but not the only one, of course, because we also know that in different countries we have different level of readiness. I mean, farmers are not at the same level of innovation or open-minded as well to new to changes. So sometimes also the role of AKIS is not well known from the different countries. So that's why it's important to start from the basis and try to find some, let's say, association or local people who can spread some news to put people together. Otherwise, it's difficult to have a working network.
Yeah, thank you. Marina, would you like to add on this? Okay.
Maybe I can just say about the exchanges. I've been reflecting a little bit on the question. I think as someone working on European level, European exchange and coordination is super important because that's my job, and because I find it exciting to meet and to know people from different countries working on these issues. So that's really exciting. But I think what is important for people who are involved in innovations and in projects on the ground is to find in their context and in their country kind of similar experiences who they can exchange with, and try to create, first of all, on kind of local or national level exchanges and cooperations before they can actually engage in kind of European exchange and collaborations. What I've seen in the past years, this was probably the most kind of useful way for organizations to exchange when they had someone who is working in that context, because the context in different countries and people working also on different issues can be so much different. So if you have similar initiatives in your country, in your context. Try to connect to them, and even if they're not 100% maybe on your, like the same as having the same values, it will be still useful to exchange with them. And then this can lead then to exchange on European level. Again, I'm giving the example of urgency, where I think there was coordination or examples in different countries, and then they met and created a coordination European level. This is also the same for my own network, like 50 years ago or even more, but yeah, we need to start somewhere.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's also important to reach out to consumer groups, or however you would describe them, that are not so much familiar with the agroecology or organic, or all that we are now discussing here is also for many people not at all in their scope. So this would be my next question. How can these networks grow, and how can they overcome certain barriers that always occur in movements? So one example would be the urban-rural exchange, or we can take other possible linkages. Do you have any ideas about this? We have from the audience, we have Belen Blanco. Yeah, I would like to give you the permission to speak. Yeah, it's possible now. Belen, would you like to speak to us?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Belen Blanco from Fundación Cartif, which is a technology research center based in Valladolid, in Spain. I came up a bit late, so I don't know if it is the proper moment, but I want to comment because we, Cartif, are coordinating a European funded project under the H2020, related with the fostering of urban food system transformation. So maybe if it is the moment, I just want to comment that we are working with and giving support to pan-European cities, linking the urban and peri-urban system. I don't know if you can hear me because I have the sound. Okay. Okay, we have the aim to address strong cooperation between the cities and as I mentioned, the cities and the rural and the peri-urban areas. So in this way, we want to share learning and knowledge and mutual learning, and affront the challenge of the food system transformation. So I think we have a holistic transition point of view to give this opportunity to the cities and the rural urban areas to improve their transformation of the food system. So I think networking is really important in this point.
Thank you. Great, yeah.
May I just ask to Belen, what's the name of the network, or is she working with Red de Ciudades por la Agroecología? Is it something you're linked to?
Okay, sorry, because I have a terrible sound, so it's difficult for me to speak in a continuous way. So our project is named Fedele, but is for the fostering the urban food system transformation through innovative living labs implementations. So we are planning to create different living labs in different cities, 12 cities in the European scenarios. So
okay, it was just to know if it was linked to la Red de Ciudades por la Agroecología.
Not exactly, but we are linked to other red.
Yeah, nice. Maybe you can share your link.
Yeah.
Your that would be great in our chat.
Just maybe to add on this topic, because the network I'm talking about, which is agro cities for agroecology, which most of them are also linked to the Milan Pact, I think it's called. But they're also working with small municipalities in rural places. They are not only based on rural and urban areas. So I think it's an example on how also local municipalities are also and cities are little by little involving also rural municipalities, and hopefully they will also involve well, they will have to involve other actors. So it's an example on maybe on more the public level, but we have a role to play there too as a civil society organization. It's from Spain, but I am sure that there are also similar initiatives in other countries. It just came to my mind that, for instance, we are talking about the biodistricts, which in a way are based on the regions which usually has a city or is linked to an urban place. This is another kind of example, and I know that in France also, as there is now, I think, kind of policy or a kind of policy framework towards territorialized food system, so localizing the food system on a territory. There are probably some examples, but some of them are also linked to national parks, and some of the no, it's not national parks, sorry, natural regional parks, which are not based on a natural place strictly, but on a natural place which tends to develop in a sustainable way, maintaining a good, respecting the environment, but also the human activities. And I know that some of that policies are implemented in that regional parks, where they have a kind of more holistic approach of the food system they have on their region and the interaction between local farmers, food markets, the procurements and food canteens, and also the links with the countryside and the small cities they have there. So I think that they can be maybe a good example on how there is an interaction that can be created between different places and different profile of actor.
Thank you. Yeah, if no one would like to add, then I would ask you, networking is not only about knowledge exchange, it could be also encouraging. So people, because to set up new ideas, we need people that have courage and that step forward to do these things and to commit on that. So maybe if you would like to share some success stories about how actually the idea got into the real world. So this would be interesting for me, I think, and for the audience. Marina, I can imagine in your network that you...
Yes, I was thinking about which kind of stories I could tell you, and I think that a story related to food it makes more sense. And I would say that we organized in 2014, so some years ago. It's a workshop. It's just the story of a workshop, but it's just also to show how bringing people together can have a kind of I don't know how to call that. Some consequences to create the change in a way, or to. So in 2014, we organized a workshop in the Balkans, in North Macedonia, related to the hygiene package, hygiene food regulations. You know that in a way, there was the perception that, well, the hygiene rules were designed for agro-food or agro-food industries, or for and not for small food producers, for small farmers. But into the regulation, there was more space for flexibility or for adaptation. And it's something that was not really understood in most of the countries, and especially in, well, Northern Macedonia is not a EU country, but most of the Balkan countries are also taking the EU regulation as an example to implement their own regulation. So it was a real problem for their traditional producers, which is very diverse and very rich. So bringing in that workshops, the example of Austria in that case, who had been working together with small farmers to design the guidelines for food security or food hygiene rules adapted to their needs. And also bringing someone from the European Commission telling, yes, you have the right to adapt. It's not only the main text, but there is also a small text which says you have some small possibility to adapt that to your own reality. I think that it created the possibility for the change. And I know that after this meeting, at least in Macedonia, our local partner, which was Slow Food Macedonia, began a kind of interlocutor, or they were also started not to be an opponent to the administration, but a potential partner. And as there were also some representatives from some of the agencies, food and veterinary agencies, I think, some of these changes have been implemented. So it's a way also to show that there is the possibility to do that. And I know that in other places, people have been inspired at least to try to change the rules. So it's, as always, it's also, yeah, it's giving you energy to say it's possible. I'm not alone, and I can follow. So this is one example I would give of success story in a way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this was encouraging. I see that there's one person from the audience, Axel Anders. I would like to give you the permission to speak right now.
Yeah, hi. I'm very strongly also enthusiastic about this networking idea and how to come together. And I would like to give a small example also. I'm working with a biocyclic vegan network for the vegan farming aspect, or the vegan organic farming aspect. And just to see how things can happen when the time is ripe. I think what is happening now all over the place, there are people getting enthusiastic, like in our case, there are farmers who want to get rid of all the animal farming. There are consumers who think about their diet, and there's so many people who want something new. And I think I remember when we started this work 5 years ago, everybody said, oh, it's impossible, it won't work. And suddenly you start doing it, and other people come and you share the enthusiasm. It becomes magnetic, and suddenly the network grows, and it's almost an automatic process. So I think from my experience, we do not really need to want to build it or construct it, but we have to just go ahead. And I think also this whole event, what we are having now, is a very good example how people are brought together, getting new ideas and getting inspired, and really starting to work together on a new level. So I think this all is part of a big process, and this is the beautiful thing about this. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We also got a little heart from Fabienne in our chat. Thank you. Yeah, so I think, yeah, this is really inspiring to see. And yeah, it's hard to just talk about what could networks bring when we already saw what they do. So yeah, I would really appreciate if the audience would like to add on this, if you would like to share your experience, this would be great. And otherwise I will go on with a topic, yeah, concerning the the bioeconomy and the circular economy, these are topics that are being addressed by the European Union right now. And I think these are also possible networks that are arising that are not so strong yet, but I can imagine that they can also be very much interested in the topic of food sovereignty, or that they can be helpful to develop this further, to close the loops of nutrients, of materials, of resources. And yeah, I'm looking very much forward to this. And yeah, I would like to hear of you if you have any ideas about it, if you have experiences. Also from the audience, if you like.
I could add that, for example, the short food supply chain is a good example for the bioeconomics, and also for the circular economy. Because if we think about the food origin, the food quality, it's not too far distances. And nowadays, agricultural techniques are becoming less impacting on the environment. So buying local food means that you have fresher foods that are not kept for many days into a refrigerator or whatever. And it also means that the product has a story behind, so producer can get in touch with the consumers, can explain the origin, the techniques behind the production, and this means that people can have the food at the right time and not buy food that is poor in quality. And so at the same way, the producer will bring the product to the consumer, and there isn't too much waste during this transfer. So this fits, and these are very peculiar topics now for the food system change, because many initiatives are launched and consumers are more pay more attention to the food origins, or also to the food labels. We also may think about the labels with some environmental indication about, for example, emission of CO2 during the production process, or about nutrients and so on.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's important to think about that.
Yes. Stanka, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, maybe now it's the moment to, I don't know, I guess that's been discussed in the other sessions of the Congress. I couldn't participate in many, but I think it's important to say that, as Axel was saying, there are different problems that are arising and citizens are getting more aware. On the other side, also the solutions and innovations are coming from all kinds of stakeholders, from civil society organizations, from farmers on the ground, but also from big multinational companies who are not necessarily interested to improve the environmental sustainability of the food system, but create profit with the interest of consumers. And I think we've seen a lot of those initiatives popping up. If I think of, or continue the example of consumption, we can find vegetarian local burgers in or whatever food in McDonald's or in Burger King and so on. But from our perspective, at least, I'm talking about my own organization, this doesn't make them sustainable or doesn't make them part of the solutions. I'm just raising the issue here that I think we should be also, when we talk about the bioeconomy, we should be a little bit careful of what are the real solutions that we stand to and want to see developing, and what are those which are as I mentioned before, creating only this kind of incremental changes that are just trying to keep or still improve the output with less input, but not really creating a fundamental change. And at least from speaking about my own organization, we would like to see the agroecological solutions which are creating this longer lasting and really diversified change, the ones that are being supported. So when you speak about the bioeconomy or some of these solutions that are popping up, we really need to be careful what they mean. And my own organization is very much against any kind of nature-based solutions where we put a hashtag on nature and try to offset one thing against the other, and continue consuming at the same level, but actually not changing anything at the end of the day. So at least from our perspective, we need to see things in their overall and kind of systematic way, and see how it will be possible for us to reduce the consumption rather than swap the use of one thing to another. One of the issues I've been working on last year has been animal feed, and we know that we are importing a lot of GM soy from the south, and now policymakers are aware of it and say, okay, let's stop doing so, but let's produce it instead of in Argentina, in Ukraine, but we keep exactly the same level of production. So we're swapping just a problem from one thing to another, not really creating a solution. So again, the caution of be aware of what are the kind of the problems that might be created with some of those, and not welcoming always maybe things that are not part of the solutions that we want to see as networks and organizations who are promoting real change. At least that's again speaking from the side of my own organization.
Yeah, thank you very much. And how exactly are you then approaching these initiatives that are focusing on bioeconomy? Are you getting into contact or into the discussion, or how do you yeah, how do you work on this topic?
Well, maybe I can say, I think we're openly communicating against any false solutions that we see would emerge. I mean, I mentioned before kind of climate smart agriculture and precision farming, and some other ones that might be part of this so-called solutions. We see our role as first, as I'm doing now, kind of giving an exclamation, alarming sign of really look behind what is on the table, and be aware that it might be not as green as it is, but just a greenwashing exercise. And then, yeah, it could be also directly taking actions towards companies that are involved in those, or creating media stories about it, and really trying to be as vocal as possible on one side, but then on the other side also promoting the real solutions that we believe in, and all the networking and all the work that we're also doing at national level is part of this. I couldn't share my experience of what our network is doing on kind of national level, but there are a lot of like exciting stories of linking up farmers with citizens and trying to make sure that the farmer get on one side a fair price, on the other side the consumers get the healthy food and so on. So yeah, we see our work on kind of both sides, supporting the solutions, but also making sure that these kind of false solutions are not being taken up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I see that Mr. Eisenbach has raised his hand, so first I would give you the permission to speak, and then I would also like to ask Fabienne to speak again about what you just wrote. So Mr. Eisenbach, it's now your turn. I think the microphone is still muted. I cannot change this.
mute. Oh, now is it working now?
Better now, yeah, we hear you.
It's still a little bit tricky. Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to add an aspect to something Dr. Fedele Colantuono said by describing the advantages of short chains between producers and consumers. Something which probably has not been mentioned enough is talking about fair prices for producers and getting healthy and local food to consumers is the food waste problematic. And by creating short chains, it is probably difficult to fulfill the requirements of the organized retail trade. The legal requirements of class 1 or so and so millimeters of an apple and the colorization of something. This is the real problem for all producers worldwide. And when we are talking about avoiding waste, it is much, much more effective to avoid waste on the field by broadening the requirements for the trade. And this is the advantage for creating short chains, because the consumer himself or herself is really not does not have these requirements. It's the trade organizations. They create these requirements in order to keep products along for a long shelf life or so. So I think this is an aspect which can both reduce waste on the field and produce a better income for consumers.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's take this as a comment, or would you like to add on this?
I think that Jones made an interesting comment, and a reply from a producer is also the association of producers among for the short food supply chain, because the volume sometimes is too large for just one producer if they want to compete with larger distribution. So if they put them together in an association, it's also easy for them to provide, for example, local food to canteens or to other public procurements like hospitals or schools. And we also have seen during the pandemic period that people are more close to the local producers. Indeed, in terms of networks, there are active consumers networks from cities who reach the producers in their farms, because we have got the period with complete lockdown, with no markets, no farmers markets in the city. So people who were used to buy local food, they reached directly the producers in their farmers, and the work of networks from different consumers has resulted really functioning in this situation.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one important aspect that I would like to point out also is what Fabienne was mentioning. Would you like to say it again in the public? Then you could raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. Okay, now you can tell us what you would like to say.
Yeah, sure. I'm also quite optimistic. I'm representing the Food Policy Council of Zurich. What you just said about also the pandemic and But generally, I think it's a trend that that people are more and more collaborating and recognizing the value of networks. And also, I think the modern technology makes it much more easier to form those networks and even to also match like-minded people and different and manage knowledge better. At the same time as this is recognized, this value, there is still from the perspective of Food Policy Council, not only ours, but I know also other networks are struggling to basically finance this very. It's a lot of work involved in networking, and it's also the reason that I feel like this is often still falls off kind of the bandwagon of many initiatives, since where I see also the role of food policy councils to do that. But it's very hard to kind of put a, let's say, a monetary value on this networking and how to make also cities or even traditional funding institutions aware of the fact that this is actually very much needed in order to transform our food system, this networking, and how to actually finance that, because many funding institutions are financing projects that are designed to kind of be profitable or self-sustaining, at least after a while, which a networking can kind of never be. So I'm really interested in also connecting this to the previous session that we had today of innovative financing and funding solutions, and how we can maybe even involve the public more in this and kind of participate into this networking, and then also be willing to kind of pay into it rather than relying on public financing, like to have kind of consistent crowdfunding or whatever. So I just wanted to bring this up. I feel like we have to become very creative on how to kind of incentivize incentivize and fund this kind of networks. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah. To me, it also seems important in terms of the social divide that we are facing, to have these networks and councils that bring together people from various parts, so that the exchange is held up. And thank you for this remark. I think we will go now to our last round of where you can make your final statement for the way forward concerning your own network, and also what you would like to add on the discussion. What were your learnings? What were your inspirations? I would ask Fedele if you would like to start.
Yes. So with my experience with the skin project, we understood that it's really important to develop a network on a specific topic, because in this way you can get many people with different expertise together and share their experiences in terms of good practices and knowledges. And this can be done at very local, regional level with, for example, with local action groups or farmers association, but also be enlarged among countries with the contribution of different representatives of different countries. So it's really important to work in this way, especially when you want to apply for projects, or you want to have also from the research side, if you want to investigate some trends or issue among countries, it's important to have a network behind. So this was my experience, and I am very open every time to new cooperations and interaction.
Thank you very much. Yes. Marine, if you would like to continue.
Well, I don't have a clear idea about how things will evolve, but I would say that I would stress the importance of follow exchanging, starting from the local level. I think that Stanka has raised this point, that we need to create local platforms, local groups, local alliances from different groups, and it's something that it is needed in the next years, from the local to the regional to the European level, because we will not have that critical mass if we don't do so. I mean, it's needed on the local level to not only to implement projects. Of course, you can implement local projects, but you get synergies are also a good way to know other initiatives, to learn from others, to create common ground, understanding, and also to have that mass, that political work to share your needs with what needs to be changed. Is it rules, policies, and so on? So it's something that I would stress, that we need to work. So go out and find what is your local platform. Is it a group or whatever? But start to be connected. I mean, not only change your way of consuming, which is also something that individually we can do, and I think we should all start from that, reflecting on how we do that. But collectively, we have also a responsibility as citizens to connect with others. So yeah, I would say that hopefully we will create that net of small networks. It's not especially the work of Forum Synergy. Of course, we hope to, we will support that. But I was listening this morning about the EU food policy. I'm sorry, it was not EU food policy or EU food cohesion policy. I don't remember the name exactly, which is also bringing European organizations, and it's the moment to do the change. So we have to follow on that. And well, coming back to Forum Synergies, I would say also give some power to young people. I mean, we also need to involve. They are the future in a way. Think in your organizations and in the movement, how to give power to younger people, because they will be the one who will have to deal with the future.
Thank you so much, Marina. Stanka, what would you say? What is your vision for the way forward?
Yes, so for my work, working with people on the ground and really creating a change on the ground, it's a small part of my work, but it's the most exciting one. Like, if I think of what is the thing that I really like about my job, is the kind of imagination and the feedback that I get also from our national and local groups, that something has changed on the ground and that it has created a real change in the world outside. Because otherwise I'm in Brussels trying to look at policies and you never see what changes. So I think this is really the most exciting part that we're doing as a movement, to really create the changes on the ground. So that's why for us, things that are coming up, we applied a few months ago with a lot of the Neleni, Europe and Central Asia organizations for a Horizon project, where we brought together something like 50 different initiatives and innovations who are working on the ground. So I really hope that we'll get this project granted, because then we can really do a lot of the things that we've been talking about now. Within the project, but maybe also through you, exchange with a lot of the people who've been in this Congress and who have been participating in it, and try to make the connections also with the projects that Marina and Fedele have been talking about. So this would be really fantastic to try to already link up existing projects, even if they have a kind of short time span of life, and but still a lot of experiences. So this is for me something that I wish for our work in the future, And the other thing, I think all civil society organizations, including my own, and I hope this will happen, and I'll try to engage at least myself to do so, should have a strategy and dedicated budget to really support local food policy councils, community-supported agriculture initiatives, all kinds of different local initiatives who are creating these changes, because very often we have funding for, at least my organization, campaigning or other important things that we're doing, but not really setting aside enough funding and enough time to be also supporting the solutions on the ground. So this is something kind of a wish and kind of a call to other organizations who are working on the same level to really prioritize this work, put it on the top of their strategy, and make sure that this kind of beautiful flower that I imagine that we're creating, this beautiful tree will grow, and in a few years we'll find ourselves without job. So, and I hope we'll be able to meet each other physically, because that's really also really important, that everyone is healthy, so that maybe in a year or two we can also hear more about everyone's experiences that we couldn't hear about now. And thanks for inviting.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, I was really, it was really touching to hear from you, from your experiences, from your hope and from your motivation, from your fields of work. And I think we are looking forward to more networks, and we are looking forward to change things together. And for now, I would like to close our session, but I will now point out actually what we achieved with this Congress so far. So I want to take your attention to our closing declaration that we were elaborating together in this network that we created within the Congress. And we were boiling down all your contributions that you made on Tuesday morning to 31 powerful demands. And I just would like to mention a few to give you an idea, but all of them are important. So on the EU level, we wrote down that public money should be there for public services, so focusing on social and ecological terms, but also to the access to land. Then also we are demanding fair trade agreements. If trade agreements must happen, then they should be in a fair and sustainable way. And also we are looking at food sovereignty at all levels. And we are demanding equity and transparency. And I think you all know what we were talking about on this conference. It is a lot about knowledge exchange. We would like to have more enabling structures to really implement this knowledge exchange into networks that work on a long-term basis and that bring people together, projects together, and let the change grow in our cities, in our landscapes, and in our minds. And so now I would also like to talk about the results. You were so active in our chats and in our Q&A feature that we decided to collect all this knowledge that was assembled here in our collaboration tool. So this is on the homepage foodsystemchange.org. You find it under community, and there you find a forum where you can click on links and everything that you would like to know. And concerning our declaration, you see it now in the chat. There you find all the links that I mentioned. The declaration should be signed via email. So today you will receive this email. You can sign as a person or as an organization, as you like, and you can take your time to discuss within your team if you would like to sign as an organization. The signature should be done until the end of March, the 30th of March, and we will publish it then on Wednesday, the 31st of March. And so you can also sign up to our newsletter to receive any updates that you would like to hear about the declaration and also about the outcomes of our Congress, because of course we will put online all the videos and sessions that we did together, so that you can share them with other people or even have a look on something that you missed out. And thank you so much for all your contributions. And I would now like to hand over to my colleague Helen Engelhardt. She is one of the organizers of this Congress. And I say goodbye to every one of you and have a nice time.
Thank you very much, Ribana. Yes, my name is Helen Engelhardt, and together with Lydia Deppe, we organized this Food System Change Online Congress. And first of all, thank you very much, Ribana, and also Lydie, for your very good guiding us through this Congress. It went very smoothly. And I know what's behind that. And also a big thanks to all our panelists and speakers that were more than 40, bringing us their valuable inputs into their diverse projects that they are pushing forward in more than 10 countries, at least in the case of our speakers and panelists. And we also want to thank the German Environment Agency again for their support, as well as the whole audience. You have been very active, and we had around 700 people registered for this Congress, and we have been very busy answering your questions, and we are very glad about the way you went very actively into these discussions. And we also saw the beginning of networking happening there, links sharing, but as well contacts from people to people. And we are convinced that this networking can increase so much over the next time. And please take this as a starting point. You are free to contact the pioneers themselves that we have met during this Congress, but also you can contact other projects that are doing similar projects in terms of not overloading maybe the email account of those that have been participating here. You find similar projects actually on our FTSE map that is also on the Congress website available. Also, you can, the advantage you have is that you can look beyond maybe the same initiatives and also connect actually with the other innovations that were presented during the Congress. So we have seen very sustainable and climate-friendly farming methods that go very well together with CSA, or marketing methods that we have got to know, or financing mechanisms. So there are a lot of linkages that we can make also along the value chain, and not just within our within the several steps. So also I want to emphasize very much what has been also brought up in the last panel discussion now, is that actually there are a lot of networks already existing, and also, as Stanka said, also a lot of projects on a European level, on national level. So please also refer, get in touch with them, and ask how can you support them, what can you learn, because there's already a common base developed, and a lot of knowledge is already there, and they're also doing already advocacy work. So it's a good point to start, and we showed you the tool, so you're very welcome to add on your networks that you are familiar with, and to broaden the network even more, and to give a good idea to the several different interests that people have participating here at the Congress. Yes, so also, referring again to the online community, that you can also keep on the discussions that were started during the chat, but as time had to finish, you can keep on discussing on certain points. And last but not least, it's not only about networking, but it's also about reaching the goal of changing the food system, which goes hand in hand with the political action. So as we have developed the closing declaration, it is really important to make use of it, and that we bring the message also out there. So we've heard that now on the EU level, there's a lot of important processes going on. So we want to publish it as soon as possible. And we also think of course, the national level. There might be elections in your country, and you bring the declaration in there, or especially contact local politicians. And we had heard about a lot of initiatives that are taking place on a local level that can really make a change. And yes, so far so good. I'm looking forward to a bigger change in the food system, and thank you very much for joining this Congress. And if there are any questions left, please contact us, and looking forward to it. Goodbye.